Going to talk about Bleeding Kansas. I'm hopeful last year you learned some of this, most of this. Hopefully, some of this will ring a bell. So, therefore, I'm going to move through it fairly quickly. So, picking up after the Kansas Nebraska Act in the fall of 1854, spring of 1855, people are moving into Kansas territory and they began to have elections to see if Kansas is going to be free or slave. Remember, we're just a territory now. What happened from there? Residents from Missouri, called border ruffians, and they were pro-slavery. They crossed into Kansas to vote into these elections. However, this was illegal. When it comes to voting, you have to be a resident of a state or a territory to vote in that particular state. For instance, I live in Kansas today. I can only vote in Kansas. If I try to vote in any other state, that's a crime. So we know this election, therefore, was fraudulent. And when they counted them up at the end of the day, over 8,000 votes were made, even though Kansas only had 3,000 people that were able to vote. So what that tells us right away is the border ruffians absolutely affected this election, and Kansas officially came in as a slave territory. And this history remembers this as the bogus elections. Bogus means fake. So Kansas is a slave territory, even though most of the people that actually live in Kansas are anti-slavery and did not own slaves. Then it takes a turn for the worse. Hopefully these are words that you recognize from last year, the Bushwhackers and the Jayhawkers. Bushwhackers, pro-slavery Missourians, they came into Kansas, they attacked anti-slavery settlements. Jayhawkers, anti-slavery Kansans, who they go into Missouri and they start attacking slavery settlements and stealing slaves to free them. So both sides were extremely violent. I think in this story, there's no good guy and bad guy because they were both very, very violent. In some cases, you'll see this. They killed people. And this continues, or this starts in 1856, and they're going to go back and forth for the next 9 years until the Civil War ends in 1865. So you have the Bushwhackers. Jesse James was a member of the Bushwhackers. He's one of the most famous outlaws in American history. He's more well known, for robbing banks, robbing trains, kind of a cowboy type. And then on the other side, you have the Jayhawkers, who were led by James Lane. And then this man enters the story. You may not recognize him in this one because he does not have his beard yet. This is John Brown.